Hey y'all, my name's Lee from Lily's Kitchen. Today we're making corn relish. Hey y'all, my name's Lee from Lily's Kitchen. Today I'm doing a canning recipe. It's a water bath recipe and it's from the Ball Mason group. So today we're doing corn relish and I'm just going to read off the ingredients off my laptop just so you know. So firstly, we've got 2 cups of white distilled vinegar. It needs to be 5%. Here in Australia, ours is only 4%, so you need to make sure you add 25% extra. I'm using double distilled vinegar, which is actually 8%, so I'm just going to use that instead, which is more than safe. We also need 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Then we've got 1 tablespoon of salt. Then we've got 4 cups of cooked corn. Now, I'm not growing anything at the moment, so I'm using frozen corn. So what I'm going to do is, when I go to heat this up, I'm going to make sure the corn is actually properly cooked, and I'm going to cook it for a bit longer to make sure everything is nice and safe. So next thing we're going to need is 3/4 of a cup of celery here. Then we're going to need 2 cups of diced peppers. So I buy my capsicum in bulk, chop it, and I freeze it, and it freezes perfectly. So I'm going to use that today. We're also going to need 1/2 cup of a chopped onion. And then we've got a tablespoon of dry mustard, a teaspoon of celery seeds, and a teaspoon of ground turmeric. So now, firstly, I'm going to get some water into the canner and just get that warming up, and then we're going to cut up the vegetables. So this is a water bath or steam canning recipe. Today I'm going to steam can it. It's a lot safer and it's easier to do. So I'm going to show you what I do. I don't have a steam canner, but I've made my own thanks to Rose Red Homestead. So I'll just show you how I do that. So firstly, I've got a large stock pot, which is pretty big here. And then I've got a cake stand that I put down the bottom of it. And now I'm just going to fill the bottom up with about 1 inch of water, just enough to cover the actual rack. And now I've just got my stove on just a low heat, just to get that warming, but you don't want it boiling just yet. The great things about steam canning is, 1, you use less water. Secondly, it's safer because you don't have all that water in there. And thirdly, it just works a lot faster because you're only boiling that little bit of water rather than a huge can of water. Now, this is a hot pack method, so I'm going to put the jars into the canner and just get them warming. So now we're going to cut the vegetables. So we need to cut up the bell peppers. So these are frozen in slices, but I'm just going to cut them into cubes. Then we've got the onion that we just need to dice, and also our celery that needs to be diced as well. So I'm just going to do that now. Little tip, keep your celery leaves, put them aside, dehydrate them, and then what you can do is you can actually grind it up with salt and turn it into celery salt. So with this recipe, I will link it down below just so you've got all the references there for you as well. So that's our 3/4 of a cup of celery. So I'm just going to put that in our already measured out 4 cups of corn kernels. Next, we're going to do the onion. And we're just going to dice that up, and we just need 1/2 cup for that one. All right, that's 1/2 cup there. And these are just in a rough chop. Okay, and we're going to need 2 cups of that. And I will need to cut up the green one as well. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to add all the ingredients to our pot and bring it to a boil, and we're going to simmer that for 15 minutes. I'll just dissolve this first and then I'll add all the rest of the ingredients. All right, now that's dissolved, I'm going to add all the rest of the ingredients. So we got our peppers, celery, onion, and our corn. As I mentioned, most of this is all frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this temperature to really come up. I'm going to wait for this to come up to a real boil, and then I'll count down the 15-minute timer for it to cook. Whoops, almost forgot to add all the spices. Celery seed, turmeric, and mustard powder. All right, so now this is coming up to a boil now. I'm just going to turn it right down to a simmer, and now we're going to cook that for 15 minutes. All right, so now the mixture's been cooking for 15 minutes. We're going to start filling up our jars now. So I'm just going to get all of the jars out of the canner. Now this recipe is meant to make 6 half-pint jars. I don't have half-pint jars. These are about 450 ml. So it's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to increase the processing time to can it in these. All right, so we're going to fill them to a 1/2 inch headspace. I'm just going to go around and get most of the solids in, and then I'll go back and add the liquid in. All right. So first we're going to debubble. So just get down and just make sure there's no bubbles. And it'll just release those extra air pockets. And then there should be a 1/2 inch headspace, which is the second option here, which that's far off. So we're going to add a little bit more to that. That one is perfect. That one is perfect as well. So I'm just going to add just a little bit more liquid to that one. That's it now. So just grab some paper towel and just wipe your rims down. And also you just check to make sure there's no notches or anything in that. If there is a notch or anything like that, change your jar over. because it will not process. And I've just used water on this today because there's no oils or anything that need to be actually broken down. So now I'm going to add the lid. So these lids are readily available in Australia, which is a one-piece lid. All right, so just fingertip tight. Now I'm going to put it into the counter. So now we've got the lid on, we're going to crank this up to high, and we're going to process them for 15 minutes for pints, and I'm going to add an extra 10 minutes because these are more than pints. So I'm going to can them for 25 minutes. So what we're going to do is wait for all the steam to start escaping out the top of this, and that will indicate that this is already full of steam, and then we can start the processing. I've also got my barbecue thermometer here. So what I do is I actually stick this in the hole, and then I'll just keep an eye on this. When this reaches 100 degrees and doesn't go up any higher, that will mean that there is steam in there at 100 degrees, and then I can start the processing. And while you're waiting, just have a chopping board or something just nearby. You don't want to put it directly in your bench because it can shatter your jars. So now my probe has now reached 100 degrees. So that means this whole pot is full of steam, and that now we can start the actual processing time of 25 minutes. All right, so now it's been canning for 25 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to turn off the heat, and we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. And that way it will help the temperature stabilize for the jars. So when you take them out, you don't have any thermal shock or anything like that. All right, so now it's been 5 minutes. We're going to pull them out now. Look at that. And always put them onto like a chopping board or a tea towel or something, just so you don't get the thermal shock from the cold bench. There we go. They're going to be a great addition to something like tacos. Thanks for watching.